Charley Boorman, our guest, he's written how many books? 6, you said?
6 books.
Six
Dyslexic
books.
and 6 books.
Dyslexic and 6 books. That's a small miracle. Long way down one of them. That's your African adventure, right to the edge, Sydney to Tokyo. And by that you mean right to the edge. You took any form of transport aside from commercial airlines?
Yeah, well, I mean, we did a couple of ones, but I mean, basically we did 2 of those, and one was from Ireland to Sydney, and we went through Iran and Indonesia and India, all sorts of different places. And then went from Sydney to Tokyo.
Well,
but,
did you take a little lesson about checkpoints and soldiers and
you
big
do.
guns?
Yeah, you have to do, because these ones were for the BBC, and you have to do hostile environmental training.
Yes. And
you have to learn what happens to you if you get taken hostage, and it's a good course, you know. But they do put you through what it's like and little tips on how to cross borders and stuff. You know, if you arrive on a motorbike, you know, it's very important to get your helmet off as quickly as possible. Smile, you know, give yourself plenty of time. Take the whole day to get across the border so that you don't become frustrated. I mean, I remember once you and I were doing Long Way Round, and we were trying to get into Ukraine, and we had the wrong pieces of paper or something, and it took 18 hours we were waiting, and so Ewan said, look, Charlie, let's go up to these guys and see if I can get through. So he goes up to these guys and he goes, these aren't the bikes you're looking for, move aside. And his best Star Wars kind of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and this guy just cocked his gun and just said, what do you want? And we both ran off, and he was running down the road thinking, well, it worked in the movies, you know. But
go back to your training, because they actually do train you. You do pretend, right?
Yeah.
Here's what happens. Somebody, you're at a border, somebody puts a gun.
Yeah, puts a gun to your head.
At your head.
You're dragged out of the cars and
your
stuff
buddy's
like this.
not with you.
Yeah,
your little
and
mate.
you're separated and all this kind of stuff. And we were doing the training, and Ewan and a couple of other guys were in one bit, and I was dragged off separately. And you know, and you have to take your shoes and socks off. They really do.
They're serious.
Yeah, really serious. Anyway, but they left me alone, so I was lying on the ground thinking, I've got a clear exit out of here, but all the guys are over there. So I decided to run. and as I was running down the thing, all I could hear was Ewan go, "Oh my God, where's Charlie?" And then I heard all the terrorists shouting, "Where is he? Where is he?" And then they're suddenly legging it after me, and then they shot me. So,
Charlie could be dead if you ran from a real border. Have you been in a coup or anything like that?
I was in a coup in Kathmandu when the last guy came out of power, and there was all these huge marches and protests, and there was the King's army defending him, and then the rest of the army coming in to kill him, and it was quite scary, because you know, often in these places you don't know how it's going to kick off. Kathmandu and Nepal is a very gentle, beautiful place, and but you know, when people are angry and fed up, you know, things can really change.
Well, and you're white.
Yeah.
And you stand out a bit.
Yeah, but you know,
depending.
I mean, I think you know, for me, I've been all over the world in many different places, and I've never, in all the places I've been, I've never really felt that I was in danger. And I think you know, people have assumptions of places. If you say to someone, "Oh, look, I'm off to Africa or Papua New Guinea," people go, "That's a dodgy place." And you go, "Oh, really? Have you been there?" They go, "No." Yeah. So they have no idea, you know, and you know, hundreds and thousands of people every year travel through Africa, and you know, when you read the newspapers or the news, you very rarely hear about anything really that goes on. There was that Indian couple who went down when they were engaged, and she was murdered, and it turned out that he murdered her.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
So
it's
you
usually
know, it's
someone
very,
you know.
Yeah, it's very rare that things go wrong.
Well, I think you found, I read that you said, the world is way friendlier than we know.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be horrible, like what
course.
just happened in Norway and all of that, and there's insane people in the world. But mano a mano, if you're not a snot, do you know what I mean? If you can fit in, I mean, you don't walk in and say, "I'm Charley Boorman."
Yeah. No, I do. I think that, you know, I mean, traveling around the world really gives you a real boost in humanity, and you realize that you know, 95% of the people around the world are just nice and want to take you in. And it seems to me that the less people have, the more people are willing to give.
Right.
You know, and I think to me, when you travel through these different countries, Iran or wherever it is, you know, the people are just friendly and nice and just want to get on with life. It's often the governments which
sure.
mess it all
I
up
had friends
for everybody.
in Iraq, same. But
Yeah.
you also have to be aware.
Yeah.
Like, we're not that naive.
No.
You know,
But like traveling
hello,
anywhere.
war going on here.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. But you know, I think you can get just as much chance of being shot or stabbed in New York as you would somewhere
Sure.
else. I mean, obviously, I would suggest, you know, southern Afghanistan is probably not the way to go. But you know, northern Afghanistan is open. You can go there as a tourist. It's perfectly safe because there's no drugs being grown anywhere else other than southern Afghanistan. So the Taliban and people are not interested
Right,
in
no,
the rest of
they're
Afghanistan.
pretty interested in poppies and heroin.
Yeah. Well, 89% of heroin in Europe comes from there.
Yes, it does.
So it's a business.
When you go on these tours, do you find an historian to help you? Do you find a guide? Do you find a character? Like Big John, wasn't his name Big John in the Philippines? Mad Dog John or something.
He was brilliant, he was. And he was this sort of scrap dealer. And you know, when you're driving along, every time he sees a ship, he's little glint in his eye and he goes, I'll scrap that one day. You know, and then he'll start telling you how much it's worth. I mean, he's a brilliant guy. But so you do, and a lot of them you stumble across, and some of them you do. I mean, we do a lot of work for UNICEF in all the stuff that we do, and I'm a goodwill ambassador for UNICEF, and I'm very proud of that. And we highlight sort of different stories and stuff that children living with HIV but you, at the same time, we went up in Borneo to inoculate some children in a village, and it's not all bad stories. It's some positive stories. And with this one, we had to take these speedboats up this little river to inoculate these people, and these little river people who live up there shoot these rapids up these things. So you're having a blast sometimes on the way up, and then you go and you inoculate a bunch of kids, and it's fantastic fun. And you know.
Yeah,
so,
but how do you carry the vaccines? Because they have to be cold, right?
Yeah, they have to be cold. They're in, and it all has to be done within a very short period of time once it comes out of the refrigerators. So you have these little ice coolers, and you keep them cold in that, and then you go as quickly as you can. And it took us, I think, sort of something like 19 hours to get to this village, and then halfway along they have these other little fridges in little villages that you change over the ice packs to carry on. But it's a huge, incredibly complicated system to get these drugs from the manufacturer to these tiny little outposts, and you know, and mothers will walk 20, 30 kilometers just so that they can have, and they've got this great system. You have you know, because people can't remember and maybe lose their pieces of paper, they do this system where they'll put one injection here, one on the thigh and one on the other thigh, and then you ask the mother which arm or thigh they've done, so that they don't re-inoculate them into something, and they all remember exactly.
And when you come back to your own children, you have two, right?
2 girls, yeah.
After seeing kids with HIV/AIDS and mothers who have to walk miles to even get food or water, and then there's no clean water, how does it change how you feel about your family? And
well, it's very difficult. You feel very
life.
Appreciative of your life and what you have. I think we can become so wrapped up in our everyday lives that we sort of forget what goes on. Like in Sudan at the moment, there's a terrible problem going on, and the first proper famine in 20 or 30 years is going on right now, and it's the children that always suffer.
Sure, the mothers leave the weak children behind to save the strong children.
And they have no other choice. They don't have a choice. You know, we can find that terrible, but it's just an instinct of survival. So and I've taken my children to Kenya in the Nairobi slums, which are some of the biggest slums in the world, and taking them to see children their age and how they live. And you know, it is you know, unbelievable what does go on around the world at the moment, and it's happening every day.
So back to Canada on a dirt bike or two, or climbing a mountain. Happier place. Manitoba. What else did you do? You rode the train. You rode the Rocky Mountaineer.
Yeah, the Rocky Mountaineer. That was kind of cool. We climbed that mountain, did the rodeo. We went up north to see the local indigenous guys up there for fishing, the Inuit, and we stuck my toe in the Arctic Ocean. And I must say, there's one thing you guys do have here, and you do incredibly well here, is mosquitoes.
Yeah, we have big bugs.
Yeah, you have big bugs. I mean, up there, it was, you know, you come out your tent, and it was, you know, the bugs up there don't do that sort of Those they do that. Whoa, they're huge, and it's
There's nothing like a Canadian black fly.
But it's like Hitchcock's film, you know, The Bird, and you stand there and you think, oh, there's no bugs, and then suddenly you look around and there's this swarm of beasts coming towards you, and you're sort of legging it to the tent.
I know,
and
my
you never
friend
get there
says
in time.
some of our flies have their own heart and lung machine.
Yeah.
You know, they're big.
They're big, but what I don't understand is there are so many of them up there but there can't be enough humans and animals to support them.
Right.
So what do they feed off?
I don't know. Perhaps we should send them to England.
No, definitely we don't want them. We don't want them.
I doubt you have any of them over there yet. So this will come out. The book will be published 2012, we think. Extreme Frontiers Canada. When you travel, what do you travel with? You know, not a Lucky Charm. What, baby wipes
Baby
or something?
wipes are very important, especially if you sit on a motorbike for a long time. You know, you don't want a rashy bum, so you keep that going. And living out in extreme places, you often have, you know, dodgy food and so dodgy stomach. So yeah, those are good.
I hear tell.
Spend your money on a decent sleeping bag, a decent roll mat, and a decent tent. And if you're happy and can sleep at night, then everything else is just easy. The silk-lined bag. Silk-lined bag is very good because you do stay in very odd hotels and stuff, and because of the silk, the bugs can't penetrate the silk, so you're safe. And get the one which the back hooks over a pillow. So that it kind of stays in one place, because there's nothing worse when you get in and you're terrified of this bed, and if you haven't got that one that hooks over the pillow, you know, you wake up in the middle of the night and your face is sprawled on the mattress, and you're just you know, you got all these bug bites on your side.
And don't leave your shoes outside the tent. You know
No, definitely don't. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Charley Boorman. Right to the Edge, one of his books, A Long Way Down. There will be one called Long Way Up and one called Extreme Frontiers Canada.